Hello, welcome back everybody. It is my great pleasure today to bring you a video on homebrew rules that I've designed for my Dragon Age campaign. You may agree with them, disagree with them, but I as a GM take prerogative and say that this is what I use for my guys. Any of them you like, well, feel free to use them in your campaigns. Maybe comment below on some of the ones that you've come up with. Now, on the subject, one of the very common ones is people being able to use stunt points more than once. Now, you specifically, in the rules, can't do that. The only stunt points you can use more than once is skirmish. It says 1+. But some of you have homebrewed that you can use it more than once. Well, alright, I think that it's been play tested as is, and it's fine, and that's just worried me a bit. It just didn't sound like it was going to be balanced. I'm not particularly against my players as a GM at all. I'm by no means a benevolent GM as well. I don't want them to have an easy time of it at all. I want them to have to earn their win. You know, if somebody dies, then they really do die. I'd rather see them die to foolishness than dice. You know, from them actually deciding something poorly and it going against them. But, you know, if it happens, I'll accept it's happened, and I'm not really going to fudge my way out of it. I play really for my own entertainment. And as is always the way, when the players say, oh, Rob, you know, what you're doing for us is really good. And I'm saying, well, I'm not really doing it for you. Whenever I make a decision, a call on something, as a GM, I'm not thinking, oh, yeah, this will be nice for the warrior here in the group here, or this will be nice for these players because I'm taking their personalities into account. I'm thinking, what would be fun for me to run? What would I enjoy? And I'd enjoy it, and we've got lucky that the players happen to like it too. I've got a good taste, I suppose, in picking it. I wouldn't particularly take that one. I know some of you out there have come up with another one where you've homebrewed being able to bank stunt points. That one sounds quite good. I'm not using it though. I've decided not to use that, of course, but being able to bank them to use them later on, I don't want them storing it up and finding some way to game the system, because unfortunately some of my guys, if you give them too much, the evil side will take over. You've got to keep them on the straight and narrow. You know, something could take over. They're really good. You know, they're very RP centric, and they are really concerned about their character and portraying it well. But you know, put them in the wrong situation, and they might do something really good, and then a little bit of beardiness alongside it. Really strong RP in one hand and a bit of beardiness in the other, and offer them both to you. And you say to the beardiness hand, no, I'll take the other one though. Beardiness can try to be disguised in the package with good RP sometimes. You've got to try and filter that shit. Well, this is a video about some of the changes I've effectively made. Now I'll start with the minor stuff first, and then we'll build up to the bigger ones. Now I haven't changed too much, but these are fundamental things that I think are important. There's just a few interesting things, and I would suggest personally that you do it. And if you're in any doubt, then you know, give it a try and then tell me what you think of it. Now, firstly, you really need to keep your guys spending money, the currency of the game. You don't want them getting too rich, because you know, a rich party isn't hungry for adventure anymore. So some of these homebrew rules are there to try and make them have to spend more coin, and I like that. So there's a thing about like forcing them to have to do repairs from time to time. You could say something really loose, like every other quest. And you could say, oh no, but that wouldn't work out because this was a really long one, this was this, and you know, it's got to make sense. You say, no, it doesn't, it's Dragon Age. You know, it's a mechanics light game. Leave it alone, it's Dragon Age. You're rolling D6. Leave it alone. It's not crunchy. The rules I come up with are real simple resolutions, and they're just there to go in with the spirit, I think, of the game. Saying, okay, well, yeah, the amount they'd have to spend would be about half, rounded up, of the armour value of armour, and that's how much in silver they'd have to spend for each time they want to repair. And by the way, you must all be carrying whetstones on you at all times, and any quest where you go out and you don't majoritively have a whetstone on you for your bladed weapons, then sorry, but you're going to start doing less damage cumulatively per quest that you don't have a whetstone on you. So the first one I'd probably say, oh, okay, you're like -1 because you didn't have a whetstone on you. Oh, and you still haven't bought a whetstone. Now in this quest you're -2, and so on. And remember, you know, all the different activities they get up to, and in Dragon Age terms as well, the whoring. If any of them are doing any of that, some of those can get quite expensive. On the subject as well of shop inventory, healing kits. Now, this is one that has been debated about a lot, and people are trying to get into some crunchy ways of handling it, and it's not the spirit of the game, guys. It's not the spirit of what Green Ronin were intending with Dragon Age. And I feel what I've done is, okay, it's simplified. It's taken all the possibilities and gives you all your things that could happen in real life, and just sort of like takes it as a big, mean average and just says, shut the lid on it straight away and get on with the fun stuff. So here's how the healing kits thing work. If you don't have a healing kit, you cannot attempt healing. Healing kits are quite expensive. If I recall, they're something like 25 silver. That's quarter of a sovereign. That could be mighty expensive. So you don't want them having to buy it too often. But then you think about how much they have to heal. Now remember, this is the point, right? Some of you guys say, oh, well, you know, they've got a healing kit in their pack, so that's fine. You know, they've got it on them. It's a permanent inventory thing. Now they can always do attempts of heals. What happens when they run out of the items within that kit? They're going to the ointment, the bandages, the different things, you know, the herbs, the compression pack things. You could say, oh, yeah, you have to buy a replacement of this, a replacement of that. Oh, stop it. Too complicated. Don't make all this work for yourself. It's Dragon Age. And please roll 2d6. Okay. That is how many uses that healing kit has got in it. They say, yeah, but how does that work? Because this one has got more than mine. So yes. And over the course of the usage of that healing kit that you've just got, you might have some really nasty things to have to heal. And in which case, you would be using more resources on that situation than he would. You'd be using more of your kit. But of course, then another time when you roll the dice and buy another healing kit, you know, you might do a lot better and get a lot of uses out of it. And well, you know, if you get a minor amount of uses and you're all like a 3 and a 1, and you're like, only 4? Spend another 25 silver and buy another bugger and put that in your pack. That's the whole point. Keep spending your coin so you stay hungry. And healing kits are a great way to go forward. And the other reason that it needs to be a charges usage like this is because it's very clearly detailed at what point they need to be spending money again, which is good because they need to spend money. But also, you as a GM, for the experience system that is used in this game, need to determine how many resources the party consumed in trying to overcome the difficulties of the encounter. If they used an exceedingly large number of resources, which are normally things like mana points on spells or potions, things like that, then you give them bonus towards the experience. You know, they had to do more to hang in there. Did they lose a lot of health? Did they almost die? Factors like this, how much did they struggle? It then allows you to gauge the actual healing as part of that. Did they have to do a heal? Yes. Yes, alright, but it's actually a resource they've used rather than actually did they have to use a heal. You know, it means more in this term of resources used. It gives you an actual finite number of uses to this thing, and they might have to do a hardcore number of heals. You know, they can't just go to Helm's Deep and say, I've got a healing kit. I know there's bloody hundreds of you, but I'll cure you. I've got a healing kit. You say, that's great, that's great. You've got 4 charges left in that, by the way. And there's like however many thousand men. So who are you going to help? Now here's another one. In the computer game, the heal spell, heal is always funny in roleplay games, isn't it? But isn't it though? Because what is it actually? What's going on? Is normally a ranged ability. But they don't say anything about ranges at all in the actual spell book, in the grimoire. Nothing. How about that? They had nothing there whatsoever. That way you could, I even remember the conversation. It was ridiculous. I was sat there as a GM and listened to the players debating it with each other, right? And when you as a GM think this is getting ridiculous, you've just got to make a call. And I heard one player saying, well, we'll have to just play it then, where it's a touch spell only. So I'll have to come up, hand on your shoulder, and that's how we'll have to heal. So initially, that's how I was having them do it, just as a sort of, let's try it and see how that feels. And then they said, well, yeah, we can't, because we can't really put a range on it. And then they're back and forth, well, put a range on it. Oh, but we can't put a range on it because it doesn't state a range like other spells. So then I pointed out, well, then it would be stupid because you could say it's unlimited. Well, you're in another continent, in fact, and now I'm going to do a heal spell on you because remember, it's not a listed range. You say, oh well, it's in sight. What if it's like a really, really wide open plain you can see for miles? What if you're like at the top of a really high ground and you can actually still see the person? What? It works then? Don't even invite that stress in on yourself, okay? Here's what we've done. In the game you can heal from a range, okay, in the computer game, that this is drawn from. So we've said, we've took it back and we've said, what can we find within the game here? We've turned it round. It's facing this way. We've said, you don't work. What can we find inside the game for you to attach to make sense? And this side said spell power. So now spell power is connected to your magic stat, and that grows with you. All right, as a figure, it goes up as you go. So we've said heal range equals range in spell power numbers. Perfect. Done. As your spell power goes up, your heal radius increases. Now finally, the last change is one that I've made to combat. I've put a new action in place that players can attempt. They can attempt something called disengage. Now it acts as a move action, so a minor, a dexterity initiative opposed test versus the foe or foes they are attempting to disengage from. If they pass that test, then they disengage from the foe at half movement speed for that move action. If they then want to take another move action or run or something like that, it's no longer at a minus versus their movement ability. However, if they fail, they have two options. They can either fail and choose, well, I'm going to run anyway and just throw caution to the wind. These are real emergency situations. And you would turn and leave as per the movement rules, except you'd move full movement instead, not the half movement. But all parties that you're engaged against get free automatic damage against you. You don't roll to hit. Do not roll to hit. It's just automatic free damage. Yes, it's not stunt point driven, I know, but it is an automatic damage. If they fail, they take automatic damage against them. I could even rule further in and say, oh, it would be piercing or, penetrating. That would be interesting, actually. Or I could say, oh, it counts as like the pierce armor thing, so it's like half's armor or something like that. That could be more balanced, couldn't it? There's something to play with, and that's the idea of these homebrew rules. They're never fully in stone. You can always mess with them a bit here and there. So yeah, they can either turn, take automatic damage, or from a fail, or having failed, take no damage, but they have to remain locked in combat. What do you think of these ideas, guys? If you want to use any of them, borrow them for your game. Let me know what ones you like. Or if you've got anything you want to suggest, leave it in a comment below. I'd be interested to see what you, the Dragon Age player community, or in general, just RPG gamer community, think of these ideas, because I'm sure you can relate them to a lot of the other systems you play as well, those of you that aren't Dragon Agers. Alright, well, this has been Robert James Fremantle. Until next time, I'll see you at the table.